Welcome to BookTube English. Let's improve our English while exploring the most widely read books in the world. This channel features a variety of genres: self-help, business, health, religion, and spirituality, all organized into separate playlists. So let me ask you a question. What if the man responsible for sending rockets to Mars, for revolutionizing the car industry, for pushing the boundaries of artificial intelligence is driven by the very same demons that haunted him as a bullied child on a school playground? What if the secret to changing the world, the real raw ingredient for that kind of epic innovation, isn't just genius, but a deep personal torment? Today, we're diving into a book that doesn't just answer this question, but lives inside it. We are exploring the astonishingly intimate story of one of the most fascinating and controversial figures of our time. The book, of course, is Elon Musk by the legendary biographer Walter Isaacson. And let me tell you, this isn't just another book. It's a global phenomenon. It shot straight to the #1 spot on the New York Times bestseller list and has been a bestseller all around the world, gathering over 20,000 ratings on Amazon alone. This is the definitive portrait of a man who is actively, right now, shaping the future of humanity. Now, before we even get into the story of Musk himself, we have to talk about the author, Walter Isaacson. If you're going to have someone tell the story of a modern genius, you want the person who literally wrote the book on geniuses. Isaacson is the acclaimed author of the biographies of some of history's greatest minds: Steve Jobs, Albert Einstein, Leonardo da Vinci, Benjamin Franklin. He is a professor of history at Tulane, the former CEO of the Aspen Institute, the chairman of CNN, and the editor of Time magazine. In 2023, he was awarded the National Humanities Medal. This man is not just a writer. He is a chronicler of innovators, a historian of disruption. And for this book, he did something unprecedented. He shadowed Elon Musk for 2 years. Think about that for a moment. 2 years of unparalleled access. Isaacson wasn't just getting information from press releases or old interviews. He was in the room. He attended Musk's meetings, he walked the factory floors with him at Tesla and SpaceX, and he spent countless hours interviewing not just Musk, but his family, his friends, his co-workers, and, crucially, his adversaries. This level of access gives the book an immediacy, an intimacy that is simply breathtaking. It provides a 360-degree view of a man who is often seen as a one-dimensional caricature in the media, either a superhero or a supervillain. Isaacson's work promises to show us the real person in all his complex, contradictory glory. The book asks a central, profound question. Are the demons that drive Musk also what it takes to drive innovation and progress? To even begin to understand this, we have to go back to the beginning, to his childhood in South Africa. The book paints a vivid and often painful picture. This wasn't a happy-go-lucky kid. He was, as the book describes, regularly and brutally beaten by bullies. There's one harrowing story where a group of them pushed him down a flight of concrete steps and kicked him until his face was just a swollen, unrecognizable ball of flesh. He was hospitalized for a week. But as the book makes heartbreakingly clear, those physical scars were nothing compared to the emotional ones. And these were inflicted by his own father, a man described as a brilliant engineer, but also a rogue and charismatic fantasist. The psychological impact of his father on his life is a thread that runs through the entire narrative. It's a wound that, in many ways, has never healed. This difficult upbringing forged the man we see today. The book describes him as a tough yet vulnerable man-child. It's a fascinating phrase, isn't it? A man who can launch the world's most powerful rocket, yet still carry the insecurities of a lonely boy. He is prone to what Isaacson calls abrupt Jekyll and Hyde mood swings, a trait that anyone who has followed his career or his posts on X can probably recognize. He has an incredibly high tolerance for risk, a seemingly bottomless craving for drama, an epic sense of mission, and a maniacal intensity that the book honestly portrays as being at times callous and even destructive. This isn't just speculation. It comes from Musk himself. At the start of 2022, a year where SpaceX launched 31 rockets, Tesla sold 1 million cars, and he officially became the richest person on Earth, you'd think he'd be celebrating. Instead, he spoke ruefully, almost sadly, about his own nature. He told Isaacson, "I need to shift my mindset away from being in crisis mode, which it has been for about 14 years now, or arguably most of my life." It was a wistful, almost wishful comment. It wasn't a resolution he could keep, because even as he was saying those words, he was secretly buying up shares of Twitter. Why? The book offers a stunning psychological explanation. Over the years, whenever he was in a dark place, his mind would always go back to that playground, to being the boy who was bullied and beaten. And now, he saw a chance to own the world's ultimate playground, the place where words are weapons, where narratives are fought over, where bullies and heroes are made and unmade every second. He wasn't just buying a social media company. He was trying to buy the playground itself, to finally be in control. This is the kind of insight that makes this biography so compelling. It connects the dots between the personal and the planetary. It shows how a childhood trauma could echo decades later in a multi-billion-dollar business acquisition that would captivate and confuse the entire world. Now let's talk about the sheer scope of his ambitions, which the book covers in fascinating detail. We're talking about Tesla, which isn't just about making cool electric cars. Musk's mission from the very beginning was to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. He saw a future choked by fossil fuels and decided he had to personally intervene. The book takes you inside the production hell of the Model 3, the bet the company moments where Tesla was weeks away from bankruptcy, and the relentless, sleep-deprived push that Musk demanded from himself and everyone around him to make it work. Then there is SpaceX. This is perhaps the purest expression of Musk's core drive. It's not a business in the traditional sense. It's a mission to make humanity a multi-planetary species. The book details the early days, the repeated failures where rockets would explode on the launch pad, one after another. It shows how Musk, using his own fortune, kept pushing, kept iterating, learning from every fiery explosion until they finally reached orbit. He is driven by a deep-seated fear that some catastrophe, a pandemic, a world war, a stray asteroid, could wipe out humanity if we remain confined to this one planet. He sees Mars not as a fantasy, but as a necessary backup drive for human consciousness. And of course, there's the AI revolution and his complicated relationship with it. He was one of the earliest and most vocal warnings about the potential dangers of artificial intelligence, co-founding OpenAI with the initial mission of ensuring AI was developed safely for the benefit of humanity. The book explores his growing concerns and his subsequent creation of XAI to compete with the very entities he helped start. It's another example of his crisis mode mindset. If he sees a potential existential threat, his instinct is to jump in and try to steer it himself. And finally, the takeover of Twitter and its transformation to X. The book gives a minute-by-minute insider account of this chaotic, dramatic, and world-shaking saga. From the secret share purchases, to the impulsive funding secured tweet, to the kitchen sink carrying entrance into Twitter HQ, Isaacson was there for it all. He shows Musk's reasoning, his missteps, his clashing with the existing culture, and his unwavering belief that he could turn the platform into an everything app and a bastion of free speech. The reader reviews on Amazon echo this sense of awe and fascination. People aren't just reading a book, they're having an experience. Customers have praised this biography as a masterclass in storytelling that provides invaluable insights into Musk's life. Many highlight how well written and easy to read it is, with short, punchy chapters that make it feel like a fast-paced thriller. They call it a page-turner. Readers appreciate that it's not just a dry accounting of facts, but a deep and thought-provoking study of character. One reader said it best: "This is more than just a biography, it's a fascinating exploration of genius, ambition, and the drive to change the world." They love Isaacson's talent as a writer and his ability to present a balanced, objective view of such a polarizing figure. Now for what I believe is the heart of any great book: the ideas that stick with you long after you've closed the cover. I want to share 3 quotes from this biography that I found particularly profound. We'll read each one and then we'll unpack it together. Here is the first quote. It comes from someone who worked closely with him, trying to understand his unconventional business methods. "What I didn't appreciate is that Elon starts with a mission and later finds a way to backfill in order to make it work financially," he says. "That's what makes him a force of nature." Let's break this down. This is the absolute reverse of how 99.9% of businesses operate. Most entrepreneurs start with a market. They find a need, they create a product, and they build a business plan to maximize profit. The financial model comes first. The mission serves the model. Musk, this quote reveals, does the exact opposite. He starts with a mission of almost absurd ambition. "I want to make humanity a multi-planetary species. I want to transition the entire world to sustainable energy." These are not business plans, they are civilizational goals. They are missions. Then, and only then, does he backfill the financial part. The word backfill is perfect here. It's like digging a huge hole for the foundation of a skyscraper without knowing exactly how you'll fill it with concrete. But you dig it anyway because you are absolutely certain the skyscraper must be built. He commits to the impossible mission first, and then he works backward, often with brutal intensity and against all odds, to figure out a way to make it commercially viable. This is why traditional analysts and business experts have been wrong about him time and time again. They look at his plans and say, "That's impossible. The numbers don't work." They are analyzing the business model. But Musk isn't starting with a business model. He's starting with a mission. And as the quote says, this is what makes him a force of nature. He's not playing by the same rules. He's operating on a different plane, driven by a vision so powerful that it bends the rules of business and engineering to its will. It's a terrifying way to run a company, but it's also how you achieve things that everyone else tells you are impossible. All right, let's move on to our second quote. This one zooms out even further and gives us a sense of the scale of his thinking. While other entrepreneurs struggled to develop a worldview, he developed a cosmic view. This is such a brilliant and concise distinction. A worldview is how you see your place in the world. For an entrepreneur, that might mean seeing a gap in the market, understanding geopolitical trends, or having a philosophy about company culture. It's about succeeding on Earth within the current systems of society and commerce. It's important, and it's what drives most successful people. But a cosmic view, as Isaacson puts it, is something else entirely. It's not about your place in the world. It's about humanity's place in the cosmos. It's about thinking on a timescale of millennia, not fiscal quarters. It's about considering the entire trajectory of consciousness in the universe. When Musk thinks about SpaceX, he's not just thinking about launching satellites for profit. He's thinking about the Great Filter, the idea that civilizations may reach a certain point of technological advancement and then destroy themselves before they can become interstellar. His cosmic view tells him that the single most important thing he can do is get humanity off this one planet to ensure the light of consciousness doesn't get extinguished. When he thinks about Tesla, his cosmic view sees a planet warming at an unsustainable rate, threatening the very biosphere that allows us to exist. When he thinks about AI, his cosmic view sees a potential successor to biological intelligence that could either be a glorious next chapter for consciousness or a final terminal one. This quote explains the why behind his seemingly disparate companies. They are all connected by this single overarching cosmic perspective. He's not just building companies, he's building lifeboats, engines, and guardians for humanity, all based on his assessment of our place in the universe. It's a level of thinking that is as awe-inspiring as it is audacious. And now for our final quote. This one for me is the most powerful and perhaps the most haunting. It goes right back to the central question of the book, linking his psychological makeup directly to his capacity for innovation. The quote refers to a kind of defense mechanism he developed. This emotional shutoff valve could make him callous, but it also made him a risk-seeking innovator. He learned to shut down fear, she says. If you turn off fear, then maybe you have to turn off other things, like joy or empathy. This is the dark bargain at the heart of the Elon Musk story. Let's really dig into this. An emotional shutoff valve. Imagine a switch in your brain. When things become too painful, too frightening, you just flip it. The pain stops, the fear vanishes. This is likely a survival mechanism learned in childhood, a way to endure the unendurable, whether on the playground or at home. The book suggests this valve is the source of his superpower as an innovator. To be a true pioneer, you have to take risks that would paralyze a normal person. Investing your entire fortune from PayPal, hundreds of millions of dollars, into two companies, SpaceX and Tesla, both of which were more likely to fail than succeed. Pouring everything into a third rocket launch at SpaceX after the first two had blown up, knowing that failure would mean the end of everything. A normal person would feel crippling fear. But Musk, as the quote says, learned to shut down fear. He can flip the switch. But here is the tragic cost. The switch isn't specific. The wiring is all connected. When you turn off fear, you might also be turning down the dial on everything else. Joy, and most critically, empathy. The ability to feel what others are feeling. This explains so much of his controversial public persona and his management style. The abrupt firings, the seemingly unfeeling public statements, the difficulty in maintaining personal relationships. It could be seen not as malice, but as the side effect of a necessary but blunt psychological tool. This quote forces us to ask a deeply uncomfortable question. Is it possible to be a risk-seeking, world-changing innovator without this shutoff valve? Is a certain degree of callousness, a certain disconnect from the normal spectrum of human emotion, the price of admission for operating at this level? The book doesn't give an easy answer, but it presents this duality with breathtaking honesty. It suggests that the same trait that makes him capable of imagining a city on Mars might also make it difficult for him to connect with the person sitting right in front of him. The source of his genius is also the source of his flaws. So, in conclusion, Walter Isaacson's Elon Musk is far more than a biography. It is a psychological profile, a business thriller, and a philosophical inquiry all rolled into one. It presents a portrait of a man who is brilliant, driven, and deeply wounded. A man who is fueled by grand cosmic missions and haunted by small terrestrial demons. It's a story of triumph and turmoil, of breathtaking innovation and baffling behavior. It doesn't ask you to like Elon Musk. It doesn't ask you to hate him. It asks you to try to understand him. It leaves you with that one lingering question. Are the demons that drive this man also what it takes to drive humanity forward? So, what do you think? It's a heavy question, I know. Have you read this book? What are your thoughts on Elon Musk, his missions, and his methods? I would genuinely love to hear your perspective. Let me know in the comments below. This is exactly the kind of conversation we love to have here. If you found this video helpful and want to learn English while exploring more fascinating books like this one, please do me a huge favor and hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Share it with any friends who might be interested in technology, business, or just a truly incredible human story. And most importantly, if you haven't already, please subscribe to BookTube English and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next literary adventure. Thank you so much for joining me today and for being a part of this community. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Happy reading!